On September 20th, 2022, unified heavyweight champion Oleksandr Usyk had a rematch with the man he defeated to become champion, Anthony AJ Joshua. Though he had moments of difficulty, Usyk outworked AJ, winning a split decision victory with scorecards of 113 to 115, 115 113, and 116 to 112. In addition to maintaining his championship status within the WBA, WBO, and IBF sanctioning bodies, Usyk earned a rightful claim to the lineal title. 3 months later, WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury had a third bout with fan favorite Derek "War Chisora. It was a fight that no one in the boxing world wanted and left a negative mark on Fury's reputation. Fan pushback be damned, Fury and Chisora had their fight, where the champion gave Chisora the worst beating of their 3 clashes, with referee Victor Laughlin calling a halt to the contest in the 10th round. After the one-sided beatdown, Usyk entered the ring to face off with Fury, and the boxing world began to boil in excitement. However, the clash failed to come together. A projected April 2023 date came and went, with Fury massively overpricing himself. He demanded a 70-30 split of the pot, which Usyk happily accepted, as he would do anything to claim undisputed glory. Despite this, the fight passed boxing fans by, and with it, Fury's reputation took another hit. Meanwhile, former unified champion Anthony Joshua had a bounce-back bout with respectable American contender Jermaine Franklin on April 1st. Since his second defeat to Usyk, AJ paired up with top-tier trainer Derek James, with many expecting the Texas native to reignite the fire in Joshua. But a stunning knockout would not play out on that night, as AJ stuck behind a stiff jab, winning a landslide unanimous decision. In response, the boxing world asked if AJ still had his eye of the tiger. 2 weeks later, interim WBO champion Joyce squared off with the heavy-handed southpaw Zhilei Zhang. Going into the contest, many expected the Iron Chin Joyce to defeat Zhang with his uniquely high output of punches. However, Joyce never got the opportunity to drown Zhang in punches, as Big Bang's left-hand crosses left his eye so badly damaged that referee Howard Foster took the suggestion of the ringside physician to halt the contest. Zhilei Zhang was the new interim WBO champion. As summer left and autumn entered, AJ was preparing to have a rematch with Dillian the Body Snatcher White. White was entering the contest after a KO defeat to Tyson Fury 2 Aprils ago, before a so-so performance against AJ's previous opponent Jermaine Franklin. With emotions running high, many were expecting a fireworks affair between the former rivals, only for it to all fall apart as White failed the drug test. Suddenly, AJ needed an opponent to keep the show going, and stepping into White's shoes was Robert Helenius. Having fought an easy bout just weeks earlier, the fresh and ready Nordic Nightmare was viewed as a commendable foe for AJ, though a victory was still bound to go his way. On the night, AJ again looked as timid as he had in his Franklin fight, despite the roaring crowd and demands of DJ. For as much as he was tagging Helenius with a jab, AJ was taking equal amounts of damage as the fight dragged along. It was beginning to look like another 12-round snoozer for AJ when he suddenly pitched out a devastating right hand. Helenius was down and would not be beating the count. It was a 6th round KO victory for Joshua. After the win, many began comparing AJ's performance against Helenius to Deontay Wilder's, who had knocked the Nordic Warrior into a nightmare of his own within 1 round. Surely, the two would soon clash to determine who would sink or swim. Later that month, unified champion Oleksandr Usyk made his second title defense against regular WBA champion Daniel Dynamite Dubois. Going into this contest, Usyk was viewed as the heavy favorite due to his unrivaled skill and unbreakable will that Dubois, despite being younger and having arguably more power, could not overcome. That was precisely what played out through the first 5 rounds until sudden controversy. 20 seconds into the 5th round, Dubois struck home with a shot to the torso that sent Usyk crumbling. Referee Luis Pabon called the punch a low blow and provided Usyk with 5 minutes to rest. When the action began again, Dubois went right back to attacking the Ukrainian's body, prompting several claims of repeated low blowing. It was clear that Usyk's body was his weakness. However, Usyk soon got back to jabbing and moving around Dubois, leaving him with little to hit. At the end of the 8th round, Usyk unleashed an aggressive flurry that forced Dubois to touch the canvas. He would beat the count and get a minute of rest before ultimately being stopped with a lead hook halfway into the following round. Adversity be damned, Usyk claimed another victory and retained his unified status. However, the boxing world took note of the drama from the 5th, curious as to how weak he was to body blows. A month later, interim WBO champion Zhilei Zhang had an immediate rematch with the man he defeated to become interim champ, Joyce. Going into the rematch, many were expecting Joyce to improve his head movement before applying his unstoppable output of punches to reclaim his interim title and status as a top 5 heavyweight. However, as he had done in their initial clash, Joyce Joyce couldn't get his head off the center line and was again getting pelted with heavy blows. The culmination of this came to a head in the third round as Joyce got smashed on the jaw by a devastating right hook. Joyce was down and would not be beating the count. All the while, the boxing world asked where their other champion was. Would he face a mandatory? Would he finally face Usyk? Or was a big-time money fight with AJ underway? Well, the world would soon find out how much worse things actually were. On October 28th, Saudi Arabia hosted a massive fight card, the Battle of the Baddest. It was filled top to bottom with heavyweights, save for one super welterweight contest. After a grueling affair with Joyce, Joseph Parker had his third fight on the comeback trail against low-level Simon Keane. With his world-class experience, Parker quickly broke Keane down, stopping him in the third round. The undercard also featured the BBBFC champion Fabio Wardley facing rival David Adelaide. After a scrap at one of their press conferences, Wardley dropped and stopped the overmatched Adelaide. The main event saw Tyson Fury return to the ring after 10 months. Who was his opponent on the night? Former UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou, making his boxing debut. Leading up to the night, many expected this to be nothing more than a glamorized sparring session, as Fury's talent, craft, and grit would completely break down Ngannou. Instead, Fury came in terrible shape, then put on a lackluster affair, even being dropped by a counter left hook before getting styled on. After 10 infuriating rounds, Fury received a split decision victory with scorecards of 94-95, 95-94, and 96-93. With both heavyweight champions having put on questionable victories, the boxing world began to let go of their dreams of an undisputed clash, and Fury's reputation took yet another hit. The division was heading downhill, with a day of reckoning soon to come. On December 23rd, 2023, Saudi Arabia held their second show-stopping card, with the first fight of note being between the commendable low-tier Junior Fa and respected contender Frank Sanchez. The Mexican fighter had fallen down several times across their 7-round contest before referee Kevin Parker called a halt to the contest. It was an easy, keep-busy bout, a sentiment that was echoed by IBF interim champ Filip Hrgovic when he made quick work of no-name Mark Demori with a first-round victory. After this, the monster Arslanbek Makhmudov made a step up in competition as he faced Agit Kabayel. Kabayel's most notable victory to date happened 6 years ago against the then still capable War Derek Chisora. Going into this contest, many expected the heavy-handed Makhmudov to continue his winning streak, but the narrative was rapidly flipped on its head as Kabayel took the role of the damage dealer. Within 4 rounds, Kabayel abused his opponent's body, dropping him 3 times en route to a stoppage victory. After the dramatic turnaround for Kabayel, former regular WBA champion Daniel Dubois took on the highly controversial Jarrell Miller. Big Baby spent the build-up verbally ripping into Dubois about being a quitter. However, Dubois summoned all of his strength and grit to force a stoppage against the 100-pound heavier foe. In the co-main event, former 5-year WBC champion Deontay Wilder took on former WBO champion Joseph Parker. Going into the contest, Parker had been on a 3-fight winning streak after his aforementioned loss to the Juggernaut and was seen as the sharper of the two, though many were willing to overlook the 14-month ring absence that Wilder had, favoring his proven explosive power. However, Parker was the one dishing out the punishment. After wobbling Wilder in the 8th and stunning him again in the 12th, Parker won a well-earned unanimous victory, which left the main event, Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin. Considering his last 2 performances, many believed that the Swedish southpaw would be able to handle the low offensive output and gain confidence as the fight went on. Not only did Wallin have AJ's previous underwhelming fights to think about, but he also took Tyson Fury a grueling 12 rounds 4 years prior and hadn't lost since. Despite his pairing with Derek James, AJ entered this bout with the incredible Ben Davidson in his corner. The union rapidly proved potent as AJ pitched off stiff, momentum-halting jabs that kept Wallin at bay. In the 5th round, AJ countered a flailing left hand from the Swede with a right of his own, followed by a left hook counter that rattled Wallin to his core. With the remaining time in the round, Wallin remained on the back foot and kept his distance from AJ, his confidence completely drained. Before the 6th round, Wallin's corners told referee Steve Gray that they did not wish to continue. With the stunning stoppage completely different from his prior bouts, AJ had impressed the world and proved to himself that he could still become a 3-time world champion. As for the other top-tier heavyweights, Fury's reputation took another hit as AJ easily beat a man who bled him dry over the 12-round distance. Fury desperately needed a career and reputational lifeline, and the opportunity presented itself. Undisputed. Providing an unrivaled level of hype, it was announced that Fury and Usyk would finally be squaring off on February 17th, 2024 in the Ring of Fire. With a banger promotional video and immense hype, we were mere weeks away from heavyweight destiny when tragedy struck. While engaged in sparring to round off his camp, Fury was caught and cooked cut. The wound was so bad that the Undisputed fight was postponed 3 months. Just when it was looking like Fury was repairing his reputation, he unintentionally let boxing fans down again. Despite this massive setback, it was announced shortly thereafter that AJ was set to face off with Francis Ngannou. Knockout chaos was now in motion, and the dissipating hype from the Undisputed rain check was redirected at another banger Saudi card. Though not as stuffed to the brim with heavyweight fights, the undercard still saw Joseph Parker face off against Zhilei Zhang. Parker went into the bout the more active of the two, which led some to favor him over the older and stamina-challenged 40-year-old. Whether or not the extra 3 months of time off affected Zhang, the contest resulted in another 12-round boxing lesson by the New Zealander. That said, Zhang caught and dropped Parker twice within the 36-minute distance. Despite this, Zhang failed to step on the pedal when the moment called for it, where Parker's tactics and heart saw him to a majority decision victory. This only left us with the main event. Surely, the card's namesake would come into play. Coming off of his somewhat controversial loss to Tyson Fury, many were backing Ngannou to show the world that he had grown from his impressive debut and was a genuine threat to the 11-year career of Joshua. Considering the thundering success of the Ben-Davidson pairing shown the previous December, where the public had once thought AJ would get blasted out due to his timidity demonstrated under Derek James, now the gigantic affair was as strong of a 50-50 contest as any other fight. With a minute to spare in the opening round, AJ pitched a perfect right hand into Ngannou's chin and he went down hard. Though he was rattled, he beat the count and saw himself into the next round. Though he tried to build some momentum for himself, at nearly the same time as the first round, Ngannou was caught flush again and went down after putting out a flimsy jab. He would beat the count again, only to be permanently laid out mere seconds after the referee put the fight back into motion. With the former UFC champion now folded like warm, soft laundry, AJ left the ring with unrivaled career momentum. With the win secured, AJ would now wait until May 18th to decide his next fight, as Undisputed was finally set for history. But there are still some unresolved issues in the heavyweight division, so let's clean those up now. On March 16th, Joyce returned to the ring on Frank Warren's Magnificent 7 card in Birmingham. Unfortunately, Joyce entered the bout in a lumbering condition, fighting even slower than before. Where he had previously demonstrated endless reserves, Joyce seemingly had to take a round or two off in the middle portion. But who was his opponent? Surely it was quality opposition that was giving him trouble. Well, no. Cash Ali is a know-nothing sub-100 ranked heavyweight whose most memorable ring moment was when he got disqualified for biting David Price 5 years ago. Despite this subpar opposition, Joyce required the full 10-round distance before putting Ali away with mere seconds to spare. Once considered a top 3 heavyweight, Joyce's world ranking had dropped, and he wasn't alone. That same weekend, former title challenger Dillian Whyte made his return after he popped dirty for drugs last August. His opponent on the night was the old battle-tested Christian Hammer. Hammer faced his share of top-level boxers in his career, albeit in losing efforts each time. Going into the bout, it was already predetermined that Whyte would solidly deal with Hammer after a couple of rounds. Though he got those rounds, his performance was so-so, as he couldn't get Hammer to engage with him before Hammer called it a day, retiring after the 3rd round. It was underwhelming to say the least, but that doesn't mean we end this video on a sour note. Let's talk about the next generation of heavyweights. On March 31st, Commonwealth and BBB of C British heavyweight champion Fabio Wardley fulfilled a heated rivalry with talented amateur boxer Fraser Clark. The fight had been a long time coming and it succeeded all expectations. It was a clash of proven professional experience against extended amateur expertise, where Wardley pitched well-timed power shots with Clark often jabbing and moving. Each time Wardley caught Clark with a thunderous looping shot, Fraser clipped the champ with a short right hand. A big right hand from Wardley set in motion a follow-up series of shots that soon had Clark down. Though he was buzzed, Clark beat the count and the action continued. The most notable moment came in the 7th when Clark pitched a shot below the belt, which left referee Steve Gray to deduct him a point. As the mid-rounds moved into the later ones, Clark's consistent counters began paying dividends as Wardley was bleeding profusely from his nose. Not only that, but Wardley's right eye was swelling up badly. At the end of 12 incredible rounds, the cards read 115-112 Clark, 114-113 Wardley, and 113-113. This bout was a draw. Though it was a letdown for both battle-proven warriors, for the boxing public, it means another clash is bound to hit our screens sooner than later. With that, we've covered every moderate to major heavyweight contest since Usyk solidified his heavyweight status in his rematch with AJ. All that matters now is the penultimate heavyweight clash between Fury and Usyk. Beyond that, Wilder and Zhang are set to face off on the best fighting card in years, the 5v5 undercard to the light heavyweight Undisputed clash on June 1st. That same card also houses Daniel Dubois versus Filip Hrgovic, likely for the vacant IBF title. What happens next for AJ, Joyce, and Parker? That I cannot say, as all we can do now is sit back and enjoy the crowning of an undisputed heavyweight champion for the first time in 24 years. Other than that, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Take care.